Nam yo ho ning ge ko 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 nam yo ho ning ge.
Hi, I'm Margaret, and this is the channel where we take Buddhist philosophy and practice and apply it to the problems and concerns of everyday life. Now, I've had a number of questions regarding how to chant about relationship issues. So today, we're going to be discussing how does Buddhism look at relationship issues? Sometimes these issues are some of the hardest ones, since everyone's emotions run very high, whether it's falling in love with someone who's been in a relationship with someone else, or divorcing when there are children involved. I think there's some important Buddhist principles to keep in mind when dealing with relationship issues. From a Buddhist perspective, it's impossible to build personal happiness on the sufferings of others. Let's say you've become involved with someone who's married to someone else. If there's a marriage involved, you're trying to build your happiness on the sufferings of the rejected party. That's creating a cause for your own future on the sufferings of someone else. This negative cause will come to fruition in your own life when the time is right. This is true of the person being unfaithful to their marital partner as well. Let's remember the law of cause and effect. When we think a thought, speak something, or act, we're setting a seed deep in our lives that's going to produce an effect when the time is right. In other words, we're creating a future effect for ourselves. And when we create negative causes, we're going to reap negative effects. When we create positive causes, we will reap positive effects. Far better to let the two people in the relationship come to terms with either separation or reunification and stay away from the relationship until that decision is worked out. The fact that you're dealing with a difficult relationship is the result of your own past seeds, which are now coming to fruition. When we understand this, we know that this is our curriculum and that there's something to be learned here. The basic principle here is that it was your destiny to encounter a problem like this, and that to resolve it, you need to strengthen your faith. This may be very hard for the person outside the marriage, but we've all recovered from broken hearts at one time or another, and wouldn't you want a relationship that's really yours, rather than one where you share your lover with someone else, or know you've been the instrument of hurt? And can you really trust a person who's been unfaithful to their marriage vows not to be unfaithful again when you're with them? One of the most difficult and potentially hurtful to the individuals involved is a divorce when children are involved. Parents can become totally enraged with one another and don't think about how this affects their children. But the children are the real victims of their parents' behavior. Children are saddened when their parents fight. They have heavy hearts and don't forget the incidents for a long time. They also frequently think that their parents fighting is their fault. Children are very perceptive. Most of the time, they don't tell the adults in their lives what they think and what they have observed. But they absolutely are aware of what's going on. I know this because when I was a family therapist, parents would tell me their children didn't know what was going on right after the children had told me everything. That's why parents must be keenly aware of what they do in front of their children. And if you must fight, it would be better to go off where the children just can't see and hear what's going on. One of the saddest situations is when one parent tries to alienate the other parent from the child, or take the child away from the other parent. Losing a parent would be devastating to the child. Either way, it's the child that suffers the most because children love and need both of their parents, regardless of what the parents think of one another. If the parents could keep their eye on the fact that no matter how they feel about one another, they both love their child and don't want to hurt him or her, children would come out of these situations so much better. As Mr. Toda pointed out, fathers don't realize when they get angry in front of their children that they frighten them and alienate them. While even though mothers get angry, their children stay close to them. Another Buddhist perspective. All of our life circumstances exist so that we will grow spiritually. When we overcome obstacles with our faith, we grow towards enlightenment. Part of that means not trying to hurt other people, but rather to behave in positive ways in our interactions with them. Your children will see this, and particularly if the other parent's not behaving well, they will notice and remember how both of you behaved. This is part of learning to master the mind, so that we take charge of our thoughts and emotions, rather than having them master us. Instead, take all of those emotions to the Gohanzen, where you can chant your way through them. And of course, chatting about the situation regarding the difficult other is the way to come out on the other side with a positive resolution. After all, we have the practice to turn poison into medicine, don't we? Now, the following Gosho passage teaches an important principle applicable to illness, but also to all the other troubles we undergo in life. Nichiren says, quote, "And could not this illness of your husband's be the Buddha's design? Because Vimalakirti and Nirvana Sutras both teach that sick people will surely attain Buddhahood. Illness gives rise to the resolve to attain the way." This is from the writings of Nichiren Daishonin, page 927. With this passage in mind, we could say to ourselves, this situation is the merciful consideration of the Gohanzen intended to awaken me to faith. Now is the time for me to muster strong faith. Now is the chance for me to change my destiny. When we are so determined in this way, we enter a higher and broader state of life. It really does no good to harbor a grudge against someone else, thinking that you're having a hard time due to that person. Better to consider them a good influence for further strengthening your faith and doing your human revolution. And realizing that it's your destiny to suffer in this way, due to your own past causes. In summary, today we discussed the Buddhist principle of cause and effect. When we suffer from problems in this lifetime, it's our destiny created by past causes. Second, we looked at the fact that problems, including difficult people, are the means for strengthening our faith, which is the stepping stones to enlightenment. Then we looked at the fact that problems are the opportunity for working to master our minds. And finally, our life is our curriculum, and there's always something to be learned from our circumstances. Please keep your comments coming. I always enjoy hearing from you. I'm always interested in the questions that you have. I do my best to answer them as best I can. And I'll see you the first week of next month.